All right. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. If you are currently listening, allow me to just check to make sure the sound is working on all of the platforms. By the way, we go live primarily YouTube.
She came to our clinic after realizing she was pregnant.
YouTube. Oh my goodness, these political ads.
But Florida's abortion ban.
There you go. Oh my goodness, it'll be over soon. Ads. All right. So we're good. Oh my goodness, we're good on. It'll be over soon. All right, we're good on YouTube. Let me check LinkedIn real quick. By the way, if you're here, new to me, shout yourself out. Leave it in the chat. Shout yourself out. Good on YouTube. Good on LinkedIn. And make sure good on LinkedIn. Check. Mic 2 1 2. By the way, if you're here, new to me, shout yourself. And let's check Facebook to make sure we good. Ha ha! How about those commanders, baby? And let's check Facebook to make sure we good. All right. Looks like we all set. You guys see the thumbnail. You see the title. You see what we're about to get into today. A lot of things need to get off my chest. So, first and foremost, to the stage. Oh, wait, sorry. Hold on. Make sure I'm doing this right. Bear with me, folks. I'm new to the whole. All right. Check. 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2. To the stage. Oh, wait, sorry. Hold on. Make sure I'm doing this right. Bear with me, folks. I'm new to the whole. All right. Check 1 2 1 2. We here. Check it. Check 1 2 1 2. To the stage. Shout yourself out if you're in the chat. Hold on. Make sure I'm doing this right. Bear with me, folks. I'm new to the whole. All right. Check 1 2 1 2. We here. Check it. Check 1 2 1 2. All right, bet. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. As one Crookshank here, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator here for another episode of Tackling Turnover with Teamwork, where we discuss all of the things, all of the lessons, everything I've learned from a life in the growing up in the DMV as a football player, really dedicated to the game. I picked up a ton of lessons on teamwork and how to reduce turnover, how to really make sure every business owner out there is working as a cohesive team. And I apply that to business. So we will dive into all of that on this show. If you're new to me, this is one of my main superpowers. I have quite a few. I don't want to give myself too much credit. I have one of the main superpower that I do really have leaned into over the past couple of years, ever since I put my first book out swiftly about 5 years ago now, is really understanding the value that comes with playing the game of football, being involved with the game of football, and seeing how many lessons it actually teaches in regards to really keeping employees engaged, really keeping people excited about what it is they do for a living, and developing a real strong sense of how they go about getting jobs, how they go about, creating a career for themselves and creating a lifestyle for themselves, which is no easy task, seeing that we live in this world where everything is so digital and we are going in all sorts of directions. So before I get too into that, let me get through a few announcements here. first things first, if you are in the West Palm Beach, Florida area, and you are interested in free boxing lessons, you heard me correctly. Free boxing lessons. I will be starting that on November 23rd. It's a Saturday, and then we'll be doing free boxing lessons over at a local park. I will give you the details and all that stuff. Be doing that every 2 weeks. Just put your information in the chat, put your email in, and message me however you want to do it. Just let me know, and you will be contacted with all of the details. Second thing, business owners, listen to me very closely. If you are if you have not yet gotten your free guide, all right, what I've done is I've created a really, really easy to understand free guide, 10 ways to use teamwork to reduce the turnover in your business. It is 1000% free. If you have not gotten that yet, go to freeguide.makeitmove.com, put your information in, and you will you'll be getting a free guide on how to use, and I've put together a list of 10 things that you can be using right now, in this moment to make it so your office or your staff and your employees is moving in a very cohesive unit. You want to make sure that the people are coming to work. Like, I'm recording this on a Monday. You want to make sure that everyone that's walking into that office or walking into the building or walking into wherever their work environment is, you want to make sure they're not walking in there and saying, "Oh, another Monday." No, you want to make sure they're walking in with some energy, like, this is what I got to accomplish. This is my goal. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be great at. All right. And if you get this guide, you're going to start to get strategies on how you can at least start to move the ball in that direction, or move the morale of the company in that direction. All right. Again, it's freeguide.makeitmove.com. Next thing, you have 6 more days. You have 5 more days. 5 more days. This fundraiser ends on November 9th. All right. It's a fundraiser that I'm working with the Royal Palm Beach Strikers. It's a soccer team, a travel soccer team, in which they have an incredible deal. All you do is you spend literally $20. $20. That's not a lot. That's nothing. All right. You spend $20 and you get a card, a Domino's card, in which whenever you use this Domino's card and you go to buy a large pizza, you see it right there. This is for real. Look at it. It says you buy one pizza and then you get the other pizza free, a large pizza free. It's a great deal, and you only have till November 9th to do it. So I strongly recommend you get it done today. All right. As far as the announcements. All right. So as far as today's topic, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give you a recap. And let me just tell you, I'll just tell you off jump. I'm a diehard Michigan Wolverines fan, diehard Michigan Wolverines football fan. And it was a rough time in regards to the results and everything that happened. It was a rough day this past Saturday to be a Michigan Wolverines fan. I mean, on one end, you see Ohio State celebrating a really big win, and on the other end, you see a team that fought hard. Again, I'm not going to take anything away. I'm not going to really bash the players. I thought the players, considering how good Oregon actually is, I thought the team, Michigan, I thought the players, as I watched the game, I thought we fought really hard. That game could have gotten away from us really early on, and the players actually did step up, and they showed some great things. They showed some signs of life. They showed that, hey, look, as Michigan fans, you don't have to really, look, this is this year, give us this year, okay, because we lost a lot, lost our coach, lost a lot to the NFL, but it's not going to be like this for long. I've lived through the App State losses. I lived through, I believe, like 7 years in a row where we lost to Ohio State. So we showed some flashes of greatness, considering that we were playing against the number 1 team. So I will give them that. All right. But what we're going to discuss today, because I think the question is worthy, and we're doing this is a Monday. And for those of you guys who don't know, every single Monday, I start the Mondays off with a Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. And we're going to really discuss this idea now of this concept of hiring someone based on emotion. hiring someone because of the convenience and not really doing your due diligence and doing your research and making sure you're hiring the most qualified candidate. It's a very worthy question, given everything that we've seen, especially myself, again, and I'm sure every other Michigan fan can resonate with this, given what we've seen. Now we're like, okay, love you, Coach Moore. Loved everything you're about a year ago. Love how you stepped up. Will never, at least for me personally, I'll never tell you, that was the bad decision or that he's a bad coach or anything like that. But based on the way that game was called against Oregon, coaching wise, now granted, we weren't helped with, I'm not going to, fuss about the officials and the fact that, Oregon dropped that pass or, maybe a couple of things here and there that the officials missed. At the end of the day, it's football and you can't leave the game up to the officials to decide. And at the end of the day, the question is worthy. Did we make an emotional hire given what we're seeing? Because it's a very talented roster. All right. So before we get into that, let me just give you kind of a recap of what happened this past Saturday, because even in a loss, even in the fact that Ohio State won and we as Michigan, we lost, and it just wasn't a good day. It wasn't a great day to be a Wolverine fan. I still continued, and I was in love with college football before Saturday, and I fell even more in love with it after, because of just what it represents, the way it brings people together, the way it connects people, the community, everything. In fact, it was actually before the games actually started, and I was listening to Tim Tebow on, I think he's on SEC Network now. And you guys, if you keep up with college football, you guys know that Georgia and Florida played, the world's biggest cocktail party out in Jacksonville. And, the conventional wisdom would have said that, look, Florida doesn't have a chance. You're talking about the number 2 team versus a Florida team that has underperformed, that hasn't been the Florida since the Tebow like Florida, the national champions type Florida, right? So conventional wisdom would have said that Florida would have just blew these guys out of the stadium. It just wasn't going to happen, right? That's what would have been assumed if you're just going off just conventional and, okay, this is what's on paper. However, it was actually a good game. And I remember Tebow was talking before the game, he was providing his commentary, and he was saying how his parents' first date, his mother and father, their first date was actually at a Florida and Georgia game. And that's really, really important for you to recognize. It's really, really important for you to note, knowing that college football, that's what it's meant to be. The wins are great. The losses, they're rough, all that. But at the end of the day, what it's about community. What it's about is really showing love and developing and watching people grow, watching young boys and young men, young boys and young ladies grow into adulthood, that transition, that camaraderie, that togetherness. That is what college football is about. That's what big time college football represents. And it was funny because I had plans on going to, I'm out here in West Palm Beach, right? So I had plans on going to a local Duffy's out here in West Palm Beach and, I was going to watch the Penn State and Ohio State game. And then I was going to stick around and then watch the Michigan, Oregon game and all that kind of stuff. And then I got a random text. I mean, I haven't heard from this lady in about 2 years now, about a year and a half. Her name is Miss Maria Solid. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But Maria, she was on the show a couple of years ago. Title of her episode is Fitness Therapy. She's a trainer, and we met actually. We met when we were both part of Dre Baldwin. We were both part of his mastermind, and we connected then. And you could tell because I come from the fitness world, she's still in the fitness world. And based on some of the questions and some of the things that we were bringing to Dre in a mastermind setting and just trying to help with our businesses and stuff like that, you can tell we were kind of in alignment in terms of what we wanted to get out of the mastermind. So we recorded a podcast episode. The title of her episode is titled Fitness Therapy, right? So anyway, I get a random text from her, someone I haven't heard from in years. And she goes, hey, by the way, I'm not sure if you're still out here in Fort Lauderdale, because I used to live in Plantation, but I'm not sure if you're still out here, but I'm out here and we're going to be going and watching the Penn State, Ohio State game at Marina 84 and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, Maria. And then also in the text, she was telling me about how her mother had listened to the show that we recorded over 3 years ago at this point. And we ended up talking. So I called her. I called her immediately. I'm like, all right, so give me the scenery. You know, talk to me about where I'm going, because I'm in West Palm Beach, and it'll be like close to an hour drive from Palm Beach all the way to Fort Lauderdale. And I'm like, all right, give me the scenery. Talk to me about where I'm going, because I had meant to actually meet up with her because she's in Tampa now, and I never got around to getting out to Tampa to meet up with her or whatever. But anyway, I called her. I'm like, all right, give me the scenery. Tell me what it's all about. Tell me exactly, you know, where I'm going. What's, you know, because she was telling me about Marina 84 and that the fact that it's a Penn State bar and all that kind of stuff. So I got to thinking, I'm like, I think that would be fun. I think that would be fun. I got to thinking that it's actually worth the hour drive from Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale, because I'm going to be around other people, other, you know, college football fans. I'm going to be around a level of energy that I want to be around. I want to be watching my college football around. Even though it is Penn State, they are playing Ohio State, and it would be nice if Penn State actually won this game, right? So I made the hour drive. It lived up to everything that was in my mind. You know, it had all the Penn State fans, the entire place. You just see navy and white. You see former players screaming at the TV. You see like generations of Penn State people. You see little kids in the bar, and they're wearing their little Penn State onesies and all that kind. You see people that were there, you know, over 3 decades of, you know, supporting this program. I mean, the guy that you see on the thumbnail, you know, he's choking me. I'm about to, you know, rip my head off because of the Michigan hat I was wearing. But he played for Joe Paterno. He played with one of my favorite players, which is LeVar Arrington, who went on to become, you know, one of the Redskins legends. And, you know, I'm a huge Redskins fan, Commanders fan. But shout out to the Commanders, by the way. Got a dub. Always great to see the Commanders get a win in New York and stuff like that. But it was great to see the loyalty to the university. It was great to see people continuing to come together. It was great to see that community, right? So after the Penn State game, and here's how it works. So for a while now, I've been meaning to go to Fort Lauderdale because they have a huge Michigan football watch party club in Fort Lauderdale. So after the Penn State game, once the Penn State game ended, which again, I probably don't have time to get into the deal. I'll show you a clip for the end as we get into the emotional hire stuff. But after the Penn State game, I drove about 15 miles more south to, what's the name of that place? It was another Michigan bar that the name is escaping me right now. Hold on, let me try. I think I still have it. Give me 1 second. It was Upper Deck. Yeah, Upper Deck. So right after that, Upper Deck in Fort Lauderdale, I've been hearing about it for a while since, you know, they have a big, huge Michigan following. So after that, I drove out to Upper Deck, and I got a chance to meet new contacts. I got included in this like super fan Michigan group and stuff like that. So again, it was even in the losing, it was great to meet other like-minded people. And that was just how my Saturday was. That's just the recap of it. Again, the results weren't what I wanted personally. I want to see Ohio State lose all the time. But at the end of the day, even though Ohio State did have a great week, we as Michigan, we lost by 3 touchdowns. Well, I'm going to get into the details of the game in a second, because that first touchdown should have been called. That first touchdown was ridiculous. I don't get how the Big Ten is supposed to be reviewing every scoring play, and the first touchdown is clearly a drop. And then that last one, as Michigan fans, I hope the diehard Michigan folks, I hope to God you remember that last touchdown, the whole, you know, you're going to put one in at the end when they could have just kneeled it, and then, you know, having all of this. Remember all of this. Remember it. Just remember it, because, okay, we'll give Oregon this year, but it's only going to be so long. I mean, this is going to be the last time, in my opinion, that Michigan is this bad. I do believe we're on the rise, given how well, I would call it well, but given the way we fought, there's a lot of pride and tradition when it comes to the Michigan Wolverines football program. And for you to put that last one in the end zone like that to make it 38-17, Okay, and then you got your guy, you got your coach on the sideline hitting us with this and all that. Just remember all this, soak all that in. Soak all that in. Let it burn a little bit. Let it burn a little bit. Let it burn a little bit. So next year, when we get ourselves together, we get our offense, quarterback right, and all that good stuff, we go to Oregon and we tap some duck ass. Tap some duck ass 365 days from now. That's all I'm saying. And I'll leave it at that. At the end of the day, though, Oregon does have they have a squad. They got a squad. They got a squad this year. This might be there. Yeah, I would be surprised if they get their first national championship this year, based on what I saw. So that was my Saturday. All right, and it was a reminder again. And I want to repeat that. I want to make sure I emphasize that as we get into today's question and more so today's topic is, when it comes to college football, given everything that we're seeing with the transfer portal, the conference realignments, money, NIL, all that kind of stuff, I am just doing what I have to do, doing my part, doing everything I can to make it so we don't lose the essence of the game, the community that the game creates, the fellowship, the getting together, the real love and loyalty to a university, and seeing that family grow up in that culture that I was around at that Penn State bar. Again, even though I was wearing a Michigan hat, the culture I was around, the people that went there, you had, again, little babies, actual babies in Penn State onesies. It was just a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. And I'm in Florida. You're talking about Penn State people, and this is Fort Lauderdale, Florida, folks. This is not anywhere near Pennsylvania. So I can only imagine what it's like in Happy Valley and all that kind of stuff. All right. So as far as the kickoff question, I'm going to put it up here for a second. All right. Emotional. Did we make in? All right. Let me add this banner real quick. Did we make an emotional hire? All right. This question, kickoff question for the week. Make your move Monday, kickoff question. Did we make an emotional hire? And I'm going to use the Ohio State Michigan rivalry and everything that we saw this past Saturday to really detail and ask this question, really to really give you a perspective on this question, because this is something that actually does translate very well into the working world, into the business world. Emotional and convenient hires is something that a lot of us are very programmed to do. All right. So just for you folks that may not understand the football world as well as I do, or have been involved in it as well as I do, allow me to I'm going to show you two clips. One was from last year. They're both in the same stadium, ironically, but one was from last year when Michigan beat Penn State. And it was like the day before we found out Coach Harbaugh was not going to be allowed to coach in the last 3 games. So they were on the plane, literally on the plane. This is just the way the reports came out. They're on the plane, on their way to Happy Valley, and while they're going from Ann Arbor to Happy Valley or whatever it is, it became announced. They found out that Coach Harbaugh wasn't even going to be allowed. This was their head coach last year, that he wasn't even going to be allowed to coach the game. So I believe it was JJ McCarthy who started some trend on Twitter or X or whatever it is, where he just put the 3 letters bet, as in like, okay, let's go. We're in the strength of our schedule. It's getting to a point now where we got to win out. If we're going to be in the national championships, we're going to be tested. And we find out now our head coach is not allowed to actually be coaching on the sidelines. And, somebody else had to, step up, pick up the slack and all that. So, we won that game. And here was the interview after, the famous interview, in my opinion, the interview that really set the stage for a great run, one of the, if not the greatest run in Michigan football history. It was incredible. It hit me a certain way, because the reason I'm a Michigan fan is because of a lot of coaches like Coach Moore. I used to, back when I was playing with the White Oak Warriors, we used to wear the Michigan uniforms, and it was a lot of black male coaches that were really, really, really emotional, were really about, giving it their all. And they remind me so much of Coach Moore. So this really drew me in. As much as I loved Michigan football before this moment, when I saw this and I saw it live, Okay, when I saw this live, I'd actually had I remember because I was at a bar in Miami and I did a Zoom call with a player that I did an NIL deal with, a former player of mine. His name is Max Tempchin. I remember I did a Zoom call with him. And then right after the Zoom call, I was at a sports bar doing a Zoom call like this. And I closed my laptop. And then I was able to focus on this Penn State game where we ran the ball 30 times in a row, bro. We ran the ball 30 times in a row against Penn State. And then this was big because Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator last year, really had a defense that nutted up. But anyway, I'm gonna play you the clip. About the showing you last year's press conference, not press conference, but the interview right after the game. This was Coach Moore after the win. Go.
To say that this has been a crazy 24 hours for your guys to win on the road in this environment when there were doubts. Jerome, what does it mean to you?
Well, I thank the Lord. Well, I thank Coach Harbaugh. Fucking love you, man. Love the shit out of you, man. This is for you. For this university, the president, our AD. We got the best players, best university, best alumni in the country. Love you guys. These fucking guys right here. These guys right here, man. These guys did it. These guys did it, man. Talk to him, man. Love you.
Good times, man. it still moves me, baby. It still moves me because I gotta tell you, like I said, I gave you the scenery. I had just met with one of my former players when I coached high school, and he was just finished his 4th year of eligibility, and I was talking about doing an NIL deal with him. And I saw that, and I saw the emotion, and then a kid like Blake Corum. You got to understand, I seen Blake Corum run when he was in the 7th grade, I believe. Yes, no, it was 7th, 8th grade year when he was making his decision on where he was going to go to high school. I was working for a company named FBU. I was a scout for a company named Football University, FBU, and Blake Corum was he was a dude, man. He was a mother. He was him. And at that point, Blake Corum was actually a 7th grader, and Penn State had offered him already. I remember there was like a whole article written about Blake Corum being one of the few 8th grade kids that has an offer from Penn State, and then you look up and you're like, he's playing for my favorite team, and he's sealing the deal against Penn State. He sealed for 2 years in a row because the year before it was another close game against Penn State, and he was the one that sealed it with a couple of his runs. So and you can see how emotional I get when I think about this. So the question is very worthy. The question for today is, did we make an emotional hire? Did we see that emotion? Did we see how passionate he is? Did we see what Coach Moore really has, the emotion of it? And did we not ask ourselves, is he going to be the best fit for the job? And the reason it almost pains me to even have this conversation, it pains me to even bring this up, but it's a worthy question. It's a worthy question because of how much emotion is involved in this game. So I'm gonna play you a clip. I'm gonna play you two more clips. All right. First one is from this year. I'm bringing it current. All right. These next 2 clips are from this past Saturday. One is when Ohio State got an emotional win from the Penn State game. And then I'm going to get into some of the analytics of the game and why the question is actually worthy. So look at Coach Day and Coach Kelly after they embraced each other, after they had won in Penn State this past year. Hey, it's emotional, right? It's an emotional game. It's an emotional game. And to speak on Coach Day and Coach Kelly for a second, they're not just Ohio State. They knew each other back when Coach Day played. Coach Day played at the University of New Hampshire. He was a quarterback there when Coach Kelly was just getting his start, and it was when Coach Kelly was with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had brought Coach Day in to be the quarterback's coach, and I know this because I played at a school named Good Counsel High School, and I met Coach Day when he was a wide receivers coach at Temple. Again, you get Philadelphia, you get Chip Kelly, he's right there. All of this stuff, it's connections. It's making sure you're actually living in your truth. And it is very easy to make convenient hires. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it does actually work. In the case of Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, it looks like it's something that is actually making sense, seeing that they have been somewhat successful this year. Obviously, their standard is a national championship, but you see where the concept and the idea where it's all around you, to where it's so incredibly easy to make convenient and emotional hires. Now for the tough news, where you have to start to ask the question of, did we make a mistake? All right, so final clip I'm going to play you, and then we'll get into more of what it's all about, and then we'll talk about how to avoid it eventually. Is this clip now is where all of the kind of the novelty, or the excitement, we'll say novelty, the novelty of the hire wears off. And you have to ask yourself a real question. All right, where the, oh my God, let's say you meet someone, or you see someone that you haven't seen in a while, and you start working with a person, you start having a conversation. Let's say you see somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, a former classmate, someone you grew up with. It's like, oh, what's up, dog? How you doing? Good to see you. This, that. All right, and you guys get to chopping it up for about a couple minutes, and then you start to ask yourself, or you guys start to ask a little bit about, hey, how's life going now? What you up to now? And then you start to realize, hey, maybe you outgrew this person. Maybe there's a reason that this person is no longer in your life. Maybe there's, you got to kind of speed up the conversation because of what that conversation is actually leading toward. And maybe you guys just simply outgrew each other. It happens, right? When you see stuff like this, you start asking a question. I'm going to translate this in a second. Trust me. If you're confused now, trust me, it's going to start making sense to you in 1 second. All right. So back to the Michigan and Oregon game. All right. We're outmatched as a Michigan. We're clearly outmatched. Oregon is just, again, the better team. However, we're still sticking with it. All right. The players are busting their ass. They're fighting. There was one play in I think it was the third quarter. It was either third or early in the fourth quarter, where we actually stopped that high-powered Oregon offense, and we forced them to punt, and we gave them we make a mistake of having a guy lined up on the center, and then that flag comes out, we get penalized for having a guy covered up over the center, and then we give Oregon the ball back because of a mistake. And that, to me, in my opinion, that's coaching. From Little League, you can't have a guy lined up over the center during a punt. I don't care how funky they want to make their special teams lineup or whatever it is. You just can't have it. So we gave them the ball back on that. To me, that's just, again, coaching, football IQ, knowing not to do these things. So anyway, all that being said, we're still in the game. All right, we're down 2 touchdowns. Alex Orji hits a long run, and we get it to where we're first and goal inside. Very similar. It's crazy because it's very similar to the Penn State-Ohio State game. But we're down. We're in the goal. We're first and goal, down by 2 touchdowns with a good amount of time left in the fourth quarter. All right, we get all the way down there. We run a couple plays and have such a predictable offense where we're throwing it to Loveland pretty much every play. It's very predictable and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, we get to the fourth down. And get the fourth down. And this is the play. That Coach Moore and Coach Campbell, I don't know who actually made this call, but this is the play that they actually come up with on a fourth down, where we have an opportunity to get the game within one score, within one touchdown, as well as our defense was actually playing. We have an opportunity in the big house to get the game within one score, and this is the play that they run.
This one at all. And that one got the crowd in the football game, too. Orji, end around. Samaj Morgan wants a throwback pass. Waits, lobs, incomplete, out of bounds. And a bad connection over there in the end zone. Now he's in the stand.
Listen, I watched it live. Among other Michigan fans, a whole table full of Michigan fans. And I sat there in shock. I sat there looking like, What the hell? I could not believe that we actually made, like, I was distraught because we had an opportunity, we had a clear opportunity to make the game interesting. And that's what led to the question today. That's what led to it. That's what led to this. That's what led to this question right there. It was right there sitting there. That's what led to it, because as much as I hate to, sound like I'm against Sharon Moore, or sound like I'm one of these fans that is just about fire the coach, I want to blame the coach. These are the questions you have to ask, because that's not on the players. That's not on the players at all. The players are just doing what they're told. The players fought their ass off against a team that were clearly outmatched against, and you still had an opportunity. And with a call like that, I just don't see it. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. And I would love to, then I know I've been rambling, because when we talk college football, I can talk for hours about this particular thing. But when you see this kind of stuff, and you're you as a business owner, you're out there, you're hiring folks, you're looking at resumes, you're trying to figure out who's going to make the best fit for your organization. You're trying to figure out what positions you fill. You're trying to figure out what it is you're going to do in regards to uplifting and creating a vision for your business, and offering your products, offering your service, offering a lot of the things that you want to do. It is so easy, because you as an owner are emotionally attached to whatever product or service you're offering. You're emotionally attached to whatever you created, especially if you're the entrepreneur in the business, especially if you're the one that built it from scratch and you started from scratch. Like for me, you see this logo, I'm emotionally attached to it, because I created it, because I actually put something out there. The books that I have out, these books that you see right here, all of these books that I've actually sat down and wrote and put it out to the public and made it so it's something that I can use to relate to other business folks and build my business and create my services or whatever. I'm emotionally attached to it. So it's easy to make an emotional hire. And it's important that we check ourselves. We got to check ourselves and know when to really ask ourselves this question before we fall into the trap, right? We fall into the trap of what we have to see. Okay. Before we fall into the trap of what we saw in that Michigan Oregon game. All right. And I get that some of you guys listening to me may not have watched the game, but you don't need to have watched the game to understand what it is I mean when I say an emotional high. It is so easy to go down this road. So here's what we're going to do. I want to make it very clear to you that there are ways of avoiding this. Right? And that's what we're going to discuss now. We are going to figure out how to avoid. I'll put it right here so you guys see it. How to avoid. Just learn how to use this too. So now we're going to talk about how to avoid it. Now we're going to speak on how to avoid it. And the short answer to the question though, that you see there, how to avoid emotional hires, is you have got to make sure your backups are ready. All right. And just stay patient with me. I'm going to translate that into the working world in a second. But you have got to make sure your backups are ready. Let me put up real quick. I'm going to put up the thumbnail real quick, just so you know why I put this thumbnail. I chose this thumbnail. So you see that guy right there, at the top middle. His name is Coach Bob Malloy. All right, Coach Bob Malloy was my high school football coach, and he retired about six or 7 years ago now. And he retired with the most wins of any high school football coach in Maryland, which is over 400. All right, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of wins. Understand, most high schools, they play about 10 games per season, a season, most of them, and then they go to the playoffs. They may get up to about 12 or 13, depending on how the playoff system works. All right, so when you're talking about a man who has over 400 wins, all right, not games, but 400 wins. that's a long time coaching. And I was blessed enough to have played for him. I was a captain on his team my senior year, so I really got an opportunity to really absorb a lot of his leadership style and absorb a lot of the things that he said. And myself, I wasn't an overly talented player. I was a good football player, but that was it. I was not talented in I wasn't like super athletic, like huge Division I, to the point where coaches were making accommodations for me to be there. And, I was getting favorable treatment by coaches or anything like that. No, that wasn't me. I was good enough to be a starter and be a captain and go on and play for an FCS program, but I wasn't good enough to the point where coaches were making favorable decisions based on me playing or anything like that. So I got a chance to see him it's always been kind of that partnership and knowing that, hey, I wasn't going to be good enough to play at a major Power 5 conference or go on and play in the NFL. It was always like, look, I knew I was going to be getting into the business in some kind of way while I was playing. And the reason I wanted to make sure I say that, because one of the things I remember him saying my junior year, it was my junior year and I just went from JV to varsity, right? And I remember him explaining this to us during camp. And just so you guys know, during camp is when everyone's coming in, everyone's, jockeying, trying to get their position. You get a whole off season of working out. You get a fresh energy. You get new guys stepping up. Who's going to be the starter? Who's not going to be the starter? You get a lot of testosterone. You get a lot of testosterone, and people really compete in a real competitive environment when we're talking training camp and football. That first week of August is always every year now. That first week of August, I'm always getting an itch as it is. But anyway, I remember him making the point. It was my junior year where he looked at all of us. He looked at all of us because he knew we were a lot of newcomers and there's just a lot of new faces with the Good Counsel program and all that. And he looks at us and he goes, "Hey, listen. The team with the best second team, all right? It's the program and the teams with the best second team. That's usually the team that gets it done at the end of the year." Let that sink in for a little bit. I'm going to say it again nice and slow so you business owners understand me. You leaders of organizations understand me. You managers understand me. You heads of household, the people that call themselves leaders. So you guys hear me clearly. The team with the best second team is usually the team that gets it done. That's what happens. All right, that's what happens. So if you want to avoid the emotion, and I say this because I don't want you to think that I'm here telling you that having emotion for your job or, maybe doing something that would be somewhat convenient in regards to how you hire people. I don't want you to think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's not the worst thing in the world for you to, like I was telling you last week, to bring in maybe a family member to fill this position, or because someone is going through something, someone may be having a difficult time with their kids, or somebody may be maybe have a situation at home where, they just need a job and you are emotionally attached to this person and you want to give this person a break. All of that is fine. The thing you have to do, all right, what you have to do in your business is make sure that your backups are ready. All right. In essence, metaphorically speaking, that the people that you're bringing on that may not have what you consider a important decision. Okay. Make sure you're spending your time getting those folks ready, because you never know when it's going to be that time to step up. You never know when it's going to be their time. Hey, something goes wrong. Somebody gets a job offer somewhere else. Somebody does this, life happens. I don't know. The coronavirus hit shit, right? Are you in a position where you're getting your backups, the folks that may not have a glamorous position? Are you as an owner getting those ready? Are you getting those people ready? Are you making sure you're hiring the right people and the most qualified people in regards to that? Because that's what's going to get you through. That's going to be the thing that makes it so your business thrives year after year after year after year after year. It's getting those backups ready. You see the connection there? You see what I mean when I say the connection that Coach Malloy made? And this is something I heard. I was 16 years. I'm gonna be 36 years old in January. This is 20 years ago, folks. 20 years ago, I heard this man say that, and it still hits home because it is so on point. And it's true in every single system, every single facet, everything we do. It's about, are you getting your backups ready? And too often do I see owners, too often do I see managers, too often do I see people who have a position in which you're supposed to be bringing folks in, and you're supposed to be making sure you're setting up a situation, setting up a business in which, setting up an environment in which you are getting every single person ready. Too often do I see you guys drop the ball on this. You drop the ball on this all the time. And it's important that you don't do that. You can't drop the ball on this, because as you see, when your second team is not ready, when your backups aren't ready, eventually you leave yourself susceptible to folding. You leave yourself to be in a situation where you're just going to be losing employee after employee after employee after employee. So when it comes to the element or the concept and the understanding that if you want to avoid falling down this trap of hiring someone that's either convenient or hiring someone because you are emotionally attached to that person. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that it's something that you're not going to do, because everyone's human. Everyone has goals. Everyone has personal relationships with other folks. Everybody has, a certain look and feel and all that. Again, it's unrealistic for me to support or suggest. It's unrealistic for me to suggest that you won't bring somebody in because you're emotionally attached to them or because they're convenient. It's part of life. It happens, and that's just the way it works. For you to avoid it causing such a problem for you, make sure you're aligned. Make sure you're aligned by getting the people who are not necessarily starters, who are not necessarily the people that are ready to, show up on game day and be the starter. Make sure you're spending your time getting those folks ready. I mean, really hammer it down. Make sure you're getting those folks ready. All right. That is how you avoid it. That's the plain and simple way of doing it. And however you take the message there, however you make it so you apply this to your business, that's your business. Then you have to ask yourself, what's going to be the priority? What's the things that we need to be getting done? Where can the people who are showing up, where can they help us today and help us right now? That's how it gets done. And to kind of cap off the story, I'll let you know that the team that actually won the championship was a team named the Matha High School, which they've been a dynasty for years. I mean, if I was to sit here and try to name off all the NFL players that have come out of the Matha, I would be on here probably for another 30 minutes. I'll keep you on here for another 30 minutes. Just know it was that year. I remember it was that year that they had a running back that was all world. His name was Pat Mealy. All right. And I played linebacker, so I had to deal with him. As a junior. I was only a junior, and I was kind of the new guy coming in. And he had Pat Mealy there, who everyone's they're jock riding him. He's Pat Mealy. He's all world. He actually ended up playing at Army. He played at Army, and I remember that first game. It was that first game that we played. We played him twice, one in the regular season and one in the championship. Remember that first game? It was I can't remember if it was that game or the playoff game. I know at some point he had an ankle situation where it started bothering him, and he wasn't full go. And I remember we were actually talking about, it was the next week. It was the next week because we were watching them in the playoffs. And I remember that something had happened to him and his ankle started bothering him. Something happened. He wasn't at full strength, long story short, right? And I remember watching it during the playoff because we were going to be playing them next week, and we won our game Friday night, and we saw Pat Mealy go down, and it was like a big deal because you get a whole 2 weeks have gone by where all the coaches are riding them. It's a job, just everybody, Pat Mealy this, Pat Mealy that, right? So he goes down, and I remember us watching that live, and I was sitting next to one of my teammates, and he looks at me, he goes, "Dude, don't worry about it. Their backup is getting nasty." Their backup is just as good. And their backup, actually, his name was Benji Clements, and Benji became a teammate of mine when I got to Stony Brook, and he was a starting corner there for a couple of years. And I remember chatting with him about that, and just the depth and the understanding that Yeah, and just to stay on that note, and I'll close you guys out soon. Benji was a running back. He was a running back when he got to when he was in high school. When he was in college at Stony Brook with me, he was the starting corner. All right, the running backs, two opposite sides of the ball. All right, two completely different positions, two completely different responsibilities. But if you're trying to get recruited, you just need to be an athlete in general. You need to be able to do multiple things. It's the same way in your business. It's the same way if you're listening to me now and you're trying to get hired somewhere, or if you're a business owner and you're looking to bring in the right people. It's how many things they can do. How well are you getting them prepped? How versed are they? How much versatility do they have to do this and to do that? All of this stuff can be taken away from the game. This is why I say it all the time. The game teaches life. If you just watch the game and you see the way the game works, you as a business owner, you're just going to improve over time, because you're going to see how to really manage the staff and really build that cohesive unit where everyone's running around and just doing their thing. All right. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, because I'd like to keep these around 45 minutes. Around 45 minutes, depends on the topic. Just know when Wednesday comes around, I'll have a lot going on, because it'll be right after the election, and I have a whole lot to say on that in itself. So stay tuned. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're here tackling turnover with teamwork. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyaMove.com. If you have not yet, business owners, free guide.makeyourmove.com. Make sure you get a free guide on how to use teamwork to reduce the turnover in your business. All the information is there on that website. If you want out there, as one Crookshank, the one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Test.